One local business says it doesn't know if it will make it out of this pandemic because most of its customers come from out of state. That's because the owner says those visitors want to see Montana in one of these. But this year, the streets of downtown and some popular establishments are practically empty. If your bike still needs registered, once you have the app downloaded on your phone, it's easy to just go ahead and take a couple pictures. The entire front of this church, including the entrance, is still blocked off in fire tape. You can see some visible smoke damage here on the outside of the building, but most of the damage occurred in this area in the basement.
God brings hope, and whatever is done in the dark will be brought out in the light.
On June 16, 2018, Jermaine Charlo went missing. She was last seen in this area near Orange Street in Missoula. Her disappearance has garnered national attention, and local leaders say they are still looking for answers. Answers that the family says they so badly need.
We never move on.
Charlo's aunt, Valinda Morjo, says they've missed Jermaine every single day.
We have to keep searching for her as if she's still alive, and that's our biggest hope, is that when we find her, she's still with us.
Charlo is from Dixon, Montana, and her 25th birthday was in April. She has 2 sons.
Her boys don't know where she is. One day your mom's home and you're so little that you don't understand, like, that she's gone missing, and that you just don't understand, like, why she's not home with you every night.
Charlo has become a face of the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement.
Never stop fighting to bring justice to the women who are gone on. Never stop looking for those loved ones that are still missing.
Local search and rescue group, the Lifeguard Group, has conducted 18 searches for Charlo and has another planned for this Friday.
As days go by, the odds go farther and farther away from our favor. But the fact that she's still missing, the family deserves for us to look.
The Missoula Police Department says it's completed search warrants and interviews and investigated dozens of leads.
It's important for us to find out all we can to provide some closure on this case for this family.
Morjo says the family won't stop looking. In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News.
There's a very, very short list of people that I let put a bag over my head.
Earlier this week, Logan Foray surprised his business partner, Michael Gardner, with a blindfolded van ride that ended in a big reveal.
Happy birthday.
Oh my God. The two have been friends for years and now operate BFK Presents. For Gardner's birthday last year, Foray photoshopped his friend's face on a billboard.
I just started getting texts of people telling me that I was pretty.
For 3 to 5 days, he was searching all over town for this billboard.
This year, Foray took the prank one step further and actually followed through.
I was very shy and embarrassed about it, but I'm also quite vain. So I secretly love the idea of my giant face plastered on a billboard by the airport.
More than just wanting to carry on this tradition, Foray says he also hopes this sign can help brighten people's day.
That's good, dude.
The sign is a play on Netflix sensation Tiger King, calling Gardner Mike Exotic, and also references the show The Office with the phrase, two-way petting zoo. Foray says the pandemic is forcing businesses to cut back on marketing, so there's plenty of billboard space. And right now, he has lots of time on his hands.
So, of course, I put that energy into pranking my business partner and giving him a beautiful gift.
He's pretty weird. He likes the weird ideas.
In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News. There's still quite a bit of work to do, but he hopes by the end of June, they'll be able to turn this wall into the big screen. In some Missoula neighborhoods, the water in the roads is already waist deep. Town is just full of traffic, and some of that traffic is here at the boat docks. The Stevensville man who killed his mother and the mother of his children in March was sentenced to life in prison. It's only been a few days since 4 people were allegedly attacked at a popular hiking trail on Mount Sentinel. Already, the defendant's brother is speaking out, saying the assaults could have been avoided. This boat behind me holds 12 people, and the fun starts right here on the Clark Fork River at the Sharon River access. What made you want to take this job?
The opportunity. There is a great opportunity. This is a great city.
Not sure what's going on, so she's in a tent in the basement.
Have you guys ever had to do something like that before? Real estate is seeing all kinds of changes during the pandemic, from virtual showings
and the front entrance
to people deciding not to sell their homes.
When COVID was at its worst, we had the lowest amount of homes going for list.
Now that the state of Montana is reopened, real estate agents say they're seeing an increase in interest from out-of-state buyers.
People are looking for that space, the beauty of Montana, and probably less congestion, really.
Missoula Organization of Realtors President DJ Smith says there is always an increase in home buying interest during the summer, but pandemic restrictions in other places are pushing people to really make the move. According to Montana Regional MLS data, people are buying more homes in Missoula County. In May of 2019, there were almost 1,700 closed sales. This year, there were almost 1,800 closed sales. In Flathead County, closed sales increased from just over 1,900 last May to just over 2,100 this May. Montana is a non-disclosure state, meaning data from the number of out-of-state buyers to in-state buyers is not available. But Smith says, anecdotally, the pandemic seems to be the last straw for some home buyers.
They were already deciding to come to Montana or other surrounding areas, and this was just an accelerant of their plans.
Cindy and Pablo Rodriguez have been planning to leave California for a couple of years.
Here in LA, it's tough to raise a child nowadays.
They recently put an offer in on a house in Billings.
And it comes down to quality of life. I mean, what are you looking for? You pay well here, but if you can't enjoy it, then what do you?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're moving for our son.
Their son is 2 years old, and Cindy says they want to give him a better life in Montana.
What we look forward to is meeting new faces and new friends.
Hopefully, they're good friends with our kids.
Yeah.
Their agent, Nancy Brooke, says she's gotten calls from people in New York, California, Washington, and Colorado, all looking to move.
as long as interest rates are low, as long as Montana continues to have a better economy than other places in the United States, I anticipate that more and more people will be looking to locate to our state.
In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News.
But we know it's not forever. It's for tonight and maybe tomorrow night.
2 years ago, Montana natives David Lawson and David Lawson Jr. headed out to Nevada on a father-son road trip. Toward the end of their trip, they were pre-approved for a mortgage in New Mexico. But in September, just a few days before they planned to leave, the dad felt a severe pain in his back.
And I take him to the ER, and they said it was lung cancer that started in his left lung, and it metastasized to his bones.
David Sr. was already diagnosed with stage 4 congestive heart failure. When the second diagnosis came, the two were living in Tijuana, Mexico, and getting care in California.
They said to put him on hospice, and he said he wanted to die in Montana.
So they came home to Montana.
He loves to fish, he loves nature, he loves the weather, the smell of this place. Like, this is home to him, and I wouldn't want him to die anywhere else.
The lung cancer came from years of working with asbestos. Lawson dropped out of college and quit his job so he'd have more time to spend with his dad.
My dad says, like, if you have a car, you're not homeless.
But without a steady income and medical bills piling up, they can't afford an apartment. That's how they ended up here, sleeping in their car and in this trailer. But Lawson Jr. tells me the hardest part isn't even the chemo or the cold, but the stigma. He has called 211, the homeless information hotline, and says the Salvation Army would pay their deposit on a place if they could only find one.
We were facing like discrimination for him because when I would mention that he has terminal cancer, it was almost like our application just went in the trash because they didn't want him to die in the house.
He says although it's an endless loop trying to find resources that actually help, they're still happy and hopeful.
In a perfect world, everyone would have a place, everyone wouldn't have cancer, like, and I know our time's coming, but we're just holding on to that.
In Missoula, Katie Miller, MTN News.
Black Lives Matter!
This is the 6th day in a row protesters are lining up in Missoula, and while there have been a few counter-protesters, Missoula Mayor John Engen says he believes the demonstrations will remain nonviolent. Later, I'll show you how COVID-19 is highlighting housing issues like lack of inventory in Missoula. Dead on a hotel floor. On Friday, a Dixon man was tried for his alleged role in the hotel homicides. Kilby said Charlotte will get immunity for her testimony. I'm Katie Miller. Missoula County is moving forward with mandating masks in public spaces, but they're having a hard time finding something to suit their needs. Realtors say that's because of an existing issue in Missoula, lack of inventory. 2 nonprofits and 1 local distillery are teaming up to provide hand sanitizer to first responders across 5 Montana counties. Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. Tune in again tomorrow at 5:30 and 10 right here on KPAX. Good night.